Okay, so you can see I've launched GarageBand. You're going to get this launch window, and there's several different options right here. You have new project, learn to play. Apple offers lessons. There's a lesson store here, Magic GarageBand, iPhone, and we'll delve into some of these. We're going to go for this new project, and in this case, we're going to select loops. That's basically what we're going to be working with in this program. So click on loops and go choose down here. And I'm going to call this week 5, highly original name for a project. And adjusting the tempo, this is your tempo slider right here, and this is your beats per minute. So the default is 120, but if you want it slower, slide the slider to the left. And the tempo is the rate of speed of which music or which beats or music passes. So a faster tempo obviously is going to go to the right, slower tempo is going to go to the left. So you can adjust that. You can also change that once you're in GarageBand, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So we're going to keep it at 120. Now you want to make sure this is saved to the desktop. Mine's defaulting to the desktop. Sometimes desktop won't show in this pull-down menu. If that's the case, just go Command D on your computer keyboard, Command D, that'll take you to the desktop. So I'll go create, and my project you can see is right here on the desktop, so I have easy access to it. Now you have a window here, and right now you have absolutely no tracks in here. So it says drag Apple loops here. So let's go back and talk about how to adjust the tempo once you're into it. Down here is your metronome, and this offers you a click to record to. You can hear it when I hit the space bar, by the way, will start and stop your DAW. Running out of early in the morning. So changing the tempo is fairly straightforward. If we go up to Control up the top, pull down menu here, and we'll go to Show Tempo in LCD. Down here is your tempo, and your time signature, key, and metronome. So all you have to do is double click on it, and there's your slider, and you can move the slider up and down to check the tempo. The other thing you're going to want to be aware of is something called a cycle region. So if I click this button down here next to the metronome, a yellow cycle region will appear at the top, and this basically loops your playback back and forth. You can extend it by going up and grabbing the right-hand corner of the cycle region. When I click on it, it turns to a left-right arrow. You can expand it that way. You can also contract it by going to the left and dragging the cycle region and making it shorter. Now I have this showing measure numbers, and you'll see that why in a minute. And you can also move this just by grabbing it in the middle and moving it around. So right now I'm just going to expand it to 8, or 8 full bars. So go to measure 9. So that's your cycle region. Next, loops. So if we go down here, automatically, because we select loops, down in this lower right-hand corner, we've worked here a bit with this. You'll see that your View Hide Loops icon is right here. So when I click on this, it'll show your loops menu. And now you're looking at a menu of all the Apple loops. That's one of the nice things about GarageBand is you'll have a ton of Apple loops. So since this is, well, first we'll put together a music loop, and then I'll show you about effects and things like that. There's a whole library in here as well of effects for games and things like that. So I'm going to go to jazz because I'm a jazz person. And if you click on any one of these loops, you can hear the loop, and then click on it again, it'll stop playing. So you can audition loops in this manner. Now you'll get down and you'll see here's a big band loop. Most of these are done by measures. So in this case, this loop, this bebop fill, it's 20 beats. Into measures beats, and then this big band is telling you that it's not in any specific tempo, that it's just 1 minute 31 seconds. So that's how you audition loops. Now notice over here that you have blue loops and green loops. Green loops sound exactly like the blue loops, except that they're what we call MIDI data. And you can actually get in, and I'll show you this later, you can actually get in and manipulate the notes in a green loop. So you can change the notes, you can make it a whole new loop if you want. Where these are audio loops and you can't edit them or change them. So in fact, let's first loop I'm going to drag in here. This is a blue jazz organ riff. It's 8 bars long. So if I want to drag this into GarageBand, all I do is just click on it, hold it, and drag it right over. Notice it goes right across the top. So 8 beats in this case equals 2 full measures. And there's my icon for the organ, and there's my loop. Now if I hit play, I'll hear this loop playing. And notice I'm also hearing a metronome click. If you don't want that metronome click, just turn the metronome on and off with this icon. So I can, in this way, build my track. So if, let's say I wanted to put a piano with this. Yeah, no, let's see if we can get a drum set with this. What do we got for drum sets up here? Can't say like that. Well, it's a little more mellow. So you're just going to have to audition these and see, you know, which ones. All right, cool jazz drum should be fairly mellow. There you go. So now I'm just going to drag a drum set over with this. Now I have the beginning of a song. Now to edit these, all right, or right now I'll show you some simple edits. Let's say I want this organ, this drum set groove to loop, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to hold your mouse up to the upper right-hand corner of the loop, and it turns into a turnaround arrow or a circular arrow. If you just click and drag, you can now make this loop for the entire 8 bars. Okay, so I could do the same thing with the organ, but let's say I want the organ to come in maybe every 2 measures. So I can make a loop shorter or longer, or shorter in this case, by clicking in the middle right hand and just collapsing it. So now my loop is 1 bar. Let's say I want it to go every other bar. So an easy way to do this is just hold down the Option key on your keyboard, click on the loop, hold down the Option key, and click and drag while you're holding down the Option key, and you'll actually duplicate that loop. So now I have this playing every so this way I can spread the loop out. I don't have to have it continually playing. Again, hold down the Option key, click and drag, and that will duplicate the loop. So you can start to see how I'm putting together a song right here. Now, notice here on the loops too that once I pick jazz, the rest are grayed out. Well, if you go up here and hit the reset button, okay, it will now reset all the different loops. So let's say I wanted to add a bass to this. So I click on bass, and I can listen to the different basses. Since we're in jazz, I might want to stay in jazz. So I'll just hit reset up here, go back to jazz, and I can go down and find a bass somewhere. Cool upright bass. This is going to work. It's going to sound good. So I'm going to loop this particular one. And now I've sort of got the beginning of a little song here. So you get the idea. Next, we're going to talk about adding software instruments. I know we've done this in the past. So we're going to go up to the track menu, go new track, and we're going to select software instruments like we did before. Create. But in this case, instead of going over here to the edit, we're going to stay on the browse. So down here are all the software instruments that are included with GarageBand. So we'll go to Synth Pads. A pad is basically a sustained sound that you put behind some music. And we're going to go to, no, pick any of these, we'll just go to Atmosphere Artifacts. And notice up here you get a nice little icon for the instrument. Now, if you want to change the icon, go down here and there's a pull-down menu. And you can change add any one of these icons to your instrument. So if you create an instrument, you can put any one of those icons next to it. So I now have my atmosphere artifacts up here, and I don't have a MIDI keyboard connected to this, so I'm going to go up to my window and go musical typing, or you can go Shift Command K, will bring it right up. So now, because this is highlighted, I actually will hear this synth that I created from GarageBand. So to add this to my track, I'm going to turn my metronome on, and I'm going to do something called a count-in. And what a count-in does, if we go up to Control, you see count-in. And now I've turned count-in on. You can see it's checked right here in the box. Now what a count-in does is give you 4 clicks before you start recording. So it gives you some warning that you're going to start to record. So now when I hit record, okay, I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to hit record. It'll give me 4 clicks before the sequence starts. Okay, not the most musical of lines, but gives you an idea of how that works. So I hit play, and there's my line. And when I talked about the drum set being a MIDI instead of an audio loop, if I double click on it, I'll get a new window here, and you can see we have something called a piano roll, and I'll be talking about this in a minute. I can take and move these notes around and edit them, and we'll be working with that later. But now you can start to get an idea for how I've actually created a pretty simple playback, or a pretty simple sequence, just using Apple loops. And there's so many Apple loops you won't get through all of them in the class, but we can create a lot of different things using our synths, using our samplers, and using our Apple loops. You can create some very, very sophisticated backgrounds for video games. So get your feet wet and start experimenting with GarageBand.